Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Deal, where we discuss business, entrepreneurship, and commercial real estate. My name is Lacey Labs, and I'm here with my co-host, Laura Martin. In today's episode, we interview Julie Walker, founder of the Peyton Walker Foundation. The foundation provides free heart screenings for students and athletes throughout our area, around the state, and nationally. Finding undiagnosed heart conditions is the key to saving lives. The foundation also hosts several CPR and AED certification training classes each year for community members and families. Additionally, each student who attends their heart screening learns how to perform CPR and how to use an AED. Tune into this episode to hear more about Julie's journey, the entrepreneurial nonprofit experience that she shares, and what advice she would give to younger nonprofit founders and leaders. Julie Walker, welcome to Beyond the Deal. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for the invitation to join you ladies this morning. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump in. Tell us a little bit about your background and your kind of story in your life.
Well, for many years, I was owning and operating a meeting planning business. So I worked with pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, planning their national sales meetings, product launches, and that really was my sole focus. I was focused on building the business and just doing what I did best. But then in 2013, my entire life changed in an instant. My husband and I, it was a beautiful fall morning, weekend morning, and had just sat down to breakfast when our phone rang, and it was the president of King's College, where our daughter was a sophomore studying to be a physician assistant. And Monsignor called to let us know that our daughter had just been taken by ambulance to the Wilkes-Barre Hospital. And of course, as a parent of a college student, your first thought is, oh my gosh, was she out drinking last night? What is going on? We really didn't have any information. So immediately we started to get ready and get ready to go to Wilkes-Barre. And our phone rang a second time. And it was a nurse at the emergency department calling to let us know that Peyton had just been brought in full cardiac arrest. And we had no idea what that even meant at that point. And she said, please get here as quickly and as safely as you can. And my husband had the wherewithal to say, is she breathing? Is she okay? And the nurse said, well, no, she's not breathing on her own, but we're doing everything we can. So imagine that moment as a parent. I mean, you've got girls, like you're paralyzed. You want to get in the car. You want to get there as you're driving, but you also don't want to get there because you don't know what you're about to face. So as we pulled into the parking lot, I looked and I saw two priests standing in the waiting area. And that's the moment I knew. And so I sat in the car for a minute and I thought, how do I open this car door and go face hell on earth? And you don't have a choice. You've got to go do it. So I was actually on crutches at the time. I had broken my foot 2 weeks prior to that. So I get out of the car. I realize I didn't have a jacket. I didn't even put a shoe or sock on my other foot because we dropped everything, got in the car. I ripped my son out of bed and threw him in the back of the car. He was 16 at the time. So I hobble into the emergency department and I tell them who I am. And the nurse says, well, we need you to go into that room. And I'm like, no, please don't make me go into that room. I want to see my daughter. And she said, well, we need you to go into this room. And then the doctors came in and told us that we had lost Peyton that day to sudden cardiac arrest. Again, I was absolutely paralyzed. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't cry. I just sat there like, you've got to be kidding. So my life, everything as I knew it and loved it, ended at that minute. Like you start the day having coffee and deciding what you want for breakfast. And a few hours later, you're planning your daughter's funeral.
Wow. And you have 2 more kids at home, right?
I do. Peyton's the middle child. I have an older daughter and a younger son. And everything, you just a complete reset on our life. Yeah. So you're right. You do cry a lot. It's okay. So we knew, okay, we have to do something with this. And the story took a completely different turn a couple weeks later. When I had left the hospital that afternoon, the nurse handed me a bag of Peyton's clothing. And that bag sat on my living room floor. About 5 weeks later, I'm like, it sounds weird, but I'm like, I just want to smell my daughter. So I opened the bag and I pull out the T-shirt that she had been wearing the day she died. And every hair on my body stood on end because it was this long sleeve red T-shirt and emblazoned in big white letters on the shirt. It said, what we do for ourselves dies with us. what we do for others in the world remains and is immortal.
Wow.
And if that wasn't a moment in my life, like, okay, this is the shirt my daughter was wearing the day she died. Are you kidding me? Like, she was the middle child. So she always had to have the last word on everything. And my gosh, this was the last word. Like, she's like, okay, well, it's time for me to go, but now you need to do some work. And she was famous at getting everybody else to do her work for her, which I laugh about now. I'm like, wow, Peyton, thank you. So we knew, okay, we've got to do something with this. Like, I always say, Peyton, she knew, her spirit knew. Her spirit knew she was here for a short time. Mm-hmm. She had a great life. Like, she lived life on her own terms, and I always admired her for it. Most kids, when teenagers, they don't want to embarrass themselves, or they have to toe the line. She was a complete free spirit. So she was on her own plan. But so we knew we had to do something. And she wanted to work in healthcare. So we decided, okay, it was really important to my husband, like, how can we spare other families from this devastation? Yeah. And how can we make a difference and build a legacy for Peyton? So that's what we did. That's the long answer to that. What's the story? That's where we got started and why.
When did you figure that out? Like, it's been a long time.
And we're figuring it out as we go, honestly. When I decided to start a nonprofit, I knew nothing about running a nonprofit. I knew how to run a business. I knew how to plan meetings and events, and I'm really good at that. Mm-hmm. So it is a lot of logistics, a lot of similarities and skills. Like, I feel like this truly was God's plan for me. And he had all along been giving me the skills and the talent and the connections that I needed to then put them into the foundation and move forward.
And you're just now making that change, transitioning, right? Full time.
Right. I mean, for 10 years, I continued to keep choice meetings running. And, meeting planning is one of the top 5 most stressful businesses or jobs out there. So I was doing that full time and then also running the foundation full time. So it was, I survived my grief by drowning myself in work and just completely focusing on work. And that's okay. Everybody has to grieve differently. Right. So work is my therapy and my outlet. But now I'm happy to say I'm finally at a place I'm ready to go all in on the foundation. And in the last few months, I've been kind of parting ways with all my clients. I've got one program left. And then by next April, I will be completely out and 150% in for Peyton Walker Foundation.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So how did you get, just tracking a little bit to those moments of seeing the shirt and sort of recognizing you had to do something and knowing it would be kind of medical related? How did you go from kind of that realization to what the Peyton Walker Foundation actually is and does?
Well, that's, like I said, we kind of made it up as we went along. And I think as we started diving into this and doing research and finding out other foundations like ours, I was amazed at how many other families, same situation, they lost beautiful, healthy looking children without warning. And so we started looking at what other groups were doing and where the biggest needs are and how do we focus on connecting the dots. We've identified the issues. We have some ideas on solutions. So now how do we connect that? And, how do you become the fixer of the problem? That's what I'm really great at, fixing issues and making a difference. So we started identifying 3 pillars of service that we really needed to focus on. We knew heart screenings were really important because they help to identify hidden heart issues that can lead to sudden cardiac arrest. Mm-hmm. We knew we needed to get AEDs or defibrillators out. That was a huge way because an AED is critical in saving lives. And we knew people needed to learn how to do CPR and how to save a life. I mean, so often people go down and nobody does anything. They just stand there and wait for EMS to arrive. So it was a lot of research, a lot of kind of, let me stand back and take this all in, see what other foundations are doing across the country and figure out where the greatest needs are. But we are constantly learning and evolving and trying, what's a new need that needs to be fulfilled and what's a new issue that we've got to address and find a solution for. Something that's been so difficult for me, healthcare moves at a snail's pace. Mm-hmm. And I am a very impatient person. So I'm not good. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, you would know it. I am not good or tolerant of status quo and okay, we'll fix it later. No, this is urgent for me because we're talking about kids' lives. So I have this sense of urgency and this sense of overwhelming responsibility that I've got to get out and raise awareness and educate parents and get kids heart screened and get AEDs out there. So it's this internal pressure that never is just relentless. I'm so driven to make a difference and help save lives.
Do you think people didn't know back when this happened that it was preventable and how to fix it? I mean, has it come that far?
Yeah, I think there's such an unawareness. People take their kids for sports physicals or well child physicals. They, check all the boxes, everything's fine, and they assume the kids are fine. But when you really start digging into the statistics, it is terrifying. This is a huge issue in our communities, and I think people don't understand what it is. I mean, when we know it's the sudden cardiac arrest is the number one killer of student athletes. 1,000 people every day in the United States have a sudden cardiac arrest. Less than 10% survive. Are you kidding me? That's, we're looking at over 400,000 cardiac arrests a year, and less than 10% survive. So we know there's so much work to be done. And I've been on my little soapbox preaching about this, and I'm sure people are annoyed with it and like, oh, there she is again. But you know what? It was the Damar Hamlin incident in the end when he was playing in the Buffalo Bills game and the NFL game last January. When he went down on the field, the entire country was focused on that and riveted to the story, whether or not you were a football fan. It's like, oh my gosh, here's this professional athlete in prime shape, and he went down on the field.
With all that medical team around
right
him,
there.
training, education,
everything.
The best of the best.
The best of the best, and it can happen to him. And then a few months later, Bronny James went down with a cardiac arrest, and sadly, they've brushed that under the carpet. And LeBron James had an incredible opportunity to really use his platform and raise awareness, and he is completely brushed it under the carpet, like, hey, nothing to see here, which is sad. And I think it has angered and upset a lot of parents like me who've lost kids to cardiac arrest. I'm like, do you realize how lucky you are, LeBron? Like, your kid was saved, thank God, because there was an AED there. And they
talk to him.
I have not.
You should try.
I'll never get a hold of him. Are you kidding me?
I would try.
But it's disheartening. Yeah. It's a disservice to those of us who weren't lucky. And he was so lucky. And that's why I say too, Damar Hamlin was lucky. He had a cardiac arrest. It was witnessed, nationally. He had world-class athletic trainers by his side. He had equipment available. They knew it was cardiac arrest, but survival shouldn't depend on luck. Yeah. Doesn't every kid deserve the same, the same circumstances? Yeah. So that's why, I'm just relentless with this. We've got to educate.
Do schools have AEDs? Does every school, is that like a law or?
Every school has one AED, or every school district has one AED. But when you start to think about these school campuses and how big they are, and then you've got all the sports teams that are practicing on fields all over the school facilities. Some of them practice off-site at other community parks.
Seems like
or whatever.
Each team should have one.
Every
with the
team
budgets
should.
These groups have. Cumberland Valley, where my kids went to high school, it seems to me that every sports team should have their own. The size is so small now. It's
I know. Yeah.
Fit in a purse.
It's tiny. And the cost, sometimes $1,500, $2,000, but
it's nothing.
Oh my gosh. When you're talking about a life, how do you put a price tag on that? And I know in the big scheme of things, maybe some of the smaller districts with less resources can't buy enough AEDs, but we've donated hundreds of AEDs. We've given an AED to almost to every school in PIAA District 3. We're working tirelessly to raise money to get AEDs out there. But, we encourage families, buy an AED. Kids are walking around with $1,500 iPhones. That's not going to save their life.
Sneakers.
Yeah.
The list goes on.
Yeah. The best sports equipment, and come on, let's make an investment where it really matters. Like, we're talking life or death here. So get AEDs out there. That's a huge push.
So before we go too much further, I'm wondering, just for our sake and for our listeners' sake, if we can define for us, what is sudden cardiac arrest? Yeah. I don't want to assume everybody knows what that is. I don't even know if I fully understand what that is compared to heart attack or different things that happen. Why does it happen? And what is an AED and what is it used for?
Now, great questions. And oftentimes sudden cardiac arrest is misreported as a heart attack. A soccer player has a heart attack on the field. No, it's usually a cardiac arrest. So completely different. And I'll make it really simple. So our heart is powered by electricity. So imagine if somebody just went in and hit the switch and turned off the electricity. Boom. So it's a power failure. Like when you're sitting in your house and all of a sudden the power goes out, you don't get a warning that that's going to happen. It's just dark and you have no idea what just happened. So it's instantaneous, basically a power failure in your heart. So your heart stops pumping efficiently. It's not getting blood to your brain and all your other organs in your body. And there's really no signs or symptoms leading up to it. It's just instant collapse. Like we saw with Damar Hamlin on the field, he just went down and that was it. Lights out. And you have minutes to restore that rhythm and get somebody, back to life. Heart attack, completely different. When someone's having a heart attack, they're usually conscious. They know something is wrong. They'll feel, they get sweaty. They may have the chest pain. They may have the pain in the jaw or down their arm. So a lot of signs and symptoms are present. You know something's wrong. You've got time to get to the hospital. Completely different. Cardiac arrest, it's like lights out, game over. We've got to react immediately. So when someone's in cardiac arrest, again, every minute that passes, their chance of survival decreases by 10%. So if you call 911 and you're going to stand there and wait for EMS to arrive, it could take on average 8 to 15 minutes for a response to get there. So now you're looking at like a 10% chance of survival. So that's why it's so important. Start CPR, get an AED. The shock from an AED will restore that rhythm. Remember, we said it's an electrical issue. So this shock from an AED will shock the heart and hopefully it restarts on its own and gets that circulation going again. So we try to teach people call, push, shock. So call 911, push hard and fast on the chest, shock with an AED. So 3 really important pieces to the chain of survival.
Call, push, shock.
Call, push, shock. Stop, drop, and roll. Yeah. We learned that as kids, Smokey the Bear, how to put out forest fires or if you're on fire. But when we talk about fires, we're so focused. We've got fire extinguishers everywhere. But what about AEDs? Isn't this really more of an issue than the likelihood of a fire?
1,000 people a day nationwide.
1,000 people every day and less than 10% survive.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is so underreported and there's so much we can do to make a difference and help save a life. Like anyone can learn CPR. We've got videos on our website you can watch just a few minutes. You can learn how to do chest compressions, learn about an AED. A lot of people are really scared by AEDs and they think they're going to get shocked. An AED will not deliver a shock unless it finds the shockable rhythm in the heart. So I can't stick pads on you, Laura, and deliver a shock if you're conscious, and it will not happen. And I think there's a huge misunderstanding and this big fear that, I don't want to have an AED accessible because the kids will get it and they'll play with it and they'll shock somebody. No, can't happen. It cannot happen. So we go out of our way to, put these in your hand. Like, feel comfortable with this. It's really easy to use. Once you turn on an AED, it will walk you through the process step by step. It doesn't advance to the next step until you've completed the previous one. So it's just, and of course, you've got to be in panic mode when this is going on, if you're trying to rescue somebody. But they're so easy to use. I mean, I've demonstrated them with you before. You can see it's easy to use. And it helps to save a life. So, my gosh, can't we get these more out there in the public more?
So the new ones are so small, and it's can you explain like the 4-minute city? Is that what you call it?
Yes. So we're really excited. A brand new product just came out on the market about a year ago. It's called Avive. And it's about the size of 2 cell phones side by side. So it's 2 pounds. A lot of other AEDs are maybe up to 7 pounds, and they're a lot bigger. This one fits in your, a purse or a backpack, super easy, very portable. So Avive came out with this new technology. They redesigned the entire unit. And the new technology with this device is game-changing. It's connected to the 911 center. So in Cumberland County, we're one of four cities right now that has this program implemented. Now, you can just buy an Avive AED, carry it with you, and not be part of a program or anything. But our program that we're doing here in Cumberland County, we have 300 of these that we have given out given away free to community members who are willing to respond to a cardiac arrest. So these are connected to the 911 center. So when a dispatcher gets a phone call and it's suspected as a cardiac arrest, they actually hit a software button that now this software looks for an AED, one of these AEDs that's within a mile of where the cardiac arrest call is coming from. So the software finds the AEDs, it sends an alert and a text message to the person that has this AED. It gives them step-by-step directions. Like I get a text alert on my cell phone. I just click the address, boom, up comes my maps, and I'm on my way with my AED. So now basically we've got 300 responders in the community who can get to a victim much more quickly than EMS. We don't have an ambulance sitting at every corner of every neighborhood waiting to be called. Yeah. So this gets bystanders, community members, all armed and engaged, ready to go out the door to help save a life. And I'm so happy to say, this was a project years in the making, and it's huge undertaking with EMS and 911 and Peyton Walker Foundation. So happy to say that of the 4 cities, we had the very first save this summer. And we were just talking about that before we started recording the show. It is a game changer. And I say it truly was the shock heard around the world, because this changes how we address sudden cardiac arrest. We know we've got to get AEDs out into the community and making a difference that way. So we had the first save in the country with this program in Upper Allen Township just this summer.
It's amazing. Wow.
It is amazing.
Well, we have a mutual friend who has one, and it went off.
Yes.
And off they ran.
And off she ran and almost burned her kitchen down. Yes.
Her brand new kitchen.
Yes.
She did.
Yes. Yeah. So anybody can respond. I mean, if you're willing to, take the AED and go perform CPR and help in any way, I've had several text alerts. In fact, I was up at the Penn State game on Saturday and I got a text alert that there was a cardiac arrest in my neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, I'm not home. I can't help. But it's a great way to really engage community members. And now we have neighbors saving neighbors, like everyone, isn't that a great give back? Like, can't we just all get along and help out each other? So we're really excited about the program. It's going to be moving into Dauphin County as well. So again, we'll get 300 more AEDs out. They'll all be connected to the Dauphin County 911 system. So we know there's enormous potential to save so many lives. And the goal really, let's make sure that there's not an empty seat at someone's holiday dinner, or let's be sure that families can celebrate birthdays and anniversaries together. That's really what this is all about.
And it could be any age, right? A person that this happens to.
Yeah. I mean, kids, it's the number one killer of student athletes. It's one of the leading causes of death in youth under 25. And you don't think that this is an issue for children, but it is. Every day, every hour, we lose another kid to cardiac arrest. It could be old, it could be young. Whereas heart attacks, that's a great question, because heart attacks typically will affect and impact adults, maybe 40 and over, but sudden cardiac arrest, anyone and everyone is vulnerable.
And I thought it was interesting. We were at a charity fundraiser on Friday with 730 women. I think some crazy number that you brought it. I thought, well, the odds of something happening,
right?
The size of a group.
Yeah, and that's the great thing. This is such a small device. People don't even know I have it in my purse. So if anything does happen, we're ready. With the number of cardiac arrests that happen every day, I want to make sure we're prepared.
Yeah, I just can't get over the size, because you see them mounted on walls and places, and they're massive.
Absolutely. And we work with businesses. We've got a great program we're running right now, the AED Challenge. So business buys an AED and then they challenge, kind of like the Ice Bucket Challenge. They challenge another business to buy an AED, or maybe to donate an AED to an organization. So we're really trying to get that going. Businesses should have them. Anywhere we've got a lot of people that are gathered. And I think too, it's an opportunity for businesses to educate their employees. So we'll also go in and do CPR training for the businesses, so they all learn what to do. They can take that knowledge home. Most cardiac arrests happen at home, so giving them those life-saving skills is a huge win.
And so if someone wanted to get an AED and get training, how long is the training? Like a half a day, or
if you want full certification, it's 2 hours. So we say, give us 2 hours, we'll get you fully certified. But, you don't have to have a card. If you've got a dead person on the ground who needs CPR, they're not going to ask to see your card. They don't care. So just learning CPR, teaching the skill. So we do go out in the community and do a lot of events, community demonstrations. it could just take a couple minutes. Or like I said, we've got great videos on our website. You can learn just by watching and getting comfortable with that. But 2 hours, we do classes at least monthly. We also, again, work with companies. We work with like scout groups. We go out and do certifications. And you know what? It's so affordable. To me, this isn't a moneymaker. We charge $25. It covers our costs to learn CPR. It's more important that we educate people and make sure they feel like they have the skills to save a life. So that's a huge importance for us.
Yeah, and there's so many businesses, I think of banks in particular, that are always giving out money. Are you in line for some of these gifts, grants? Is that?
Thankfully, yes. I mean, we are so blessed. Every day I'm brought to tears by the generosity of the business community, the funds that, the donors that step forward and say, yes, I'm going to support this work. And over the 10 plus years we've been doing this, I've only had a few no's. And it's, how do you say no to this story and the work we're doing? It's so tangible. I can show you the lives we have saved. There was a 10-year-old little girl who was saved at a roller skating rink because one of the AEDs we donated was there and available for her.
Wow.
We saved a mom with one of the AEDs at a baseball game. We've had kids come to our heart screenings and then had to go have surgical interventions because of what we found at the heart screening. Otherwise, they thought they were fine. They passed all their sports physicals and their well child physicals. We found something wrong. So our work is so tangible, the difference we're making. CPR class, somebody came to one of our CPR classes. Guess what? She had to do CPR and saved her pastor. So there's so many stories that people... It's so compelling, and we've had such a tremendous support. We get EITC funding, which has been a huge gift for us, working with a lot of different partners who are registered for the EITC program. So we have some really exciting opportunities with EITC funding coming up.
And that is Pennsylvania companies that are paying state taxes can gift the money. Some of the money could go to you. That's correct,
right? So they can allocate, instead of paying the state tax, they can allocate that money to come to the Peyton Walker Foundation. Yeah. So what a phenomenal gift for us to be able to get that funding. And then what we're doing is turning around and using those EITC funds now to provide CPR training for scout groups, for Girls on the Run, all these different organizations that need and want the training. So what a great gift. But it's the grants that keep coming, the corporations that step up and sponsor us. It's the EITC funding. It's the general donations. All of that. That's what drives our work. And I say, my work's done when the money stops coming. Then I know it's time to move on.
I'm not sure that'll ever happen.
I hope not. Yeah. But then again, I am getting tired. So it is. It's a huge drain. But it's so rewarding to get the calls that we get that life was saved.
Yeah. Now, when you do the screenings, you're doing them like at the Giant Center.
We do heart screenings. We'll go into a school typically, and we work with all of the healthcare systems to provide free heart screenings for kids. So we check their vitals. We listen for any heart murmurs. We get their family history, and then we provide an electrocardiogram, which is the 12-lead EKG. And if anything comes back abnormal on any one of those, then we'll also provide an echocardiogram or an ultrasound of their heart. So we want to find, all these hidden issues that could lead to cardiac arrest. It could be a genetic issue. Some other causes of cardiac arrest could be, look at all the supplements that kids are taking these days. Did we know what they're really putting in their body?
And all those drinks.
The energy drinks are terrible. It could be that, like it could be the commotio cordis, like we saw with Damar Hamlin. It could be a virus and they've got an enlarged heart. So there's so many different things that can lead to cardiac arrest, but through our heart screening, we're trying to find those genetic issues that can cause cardiac arrest. But it's painless. It just takes a few minutes. And one thing I love about the heart screening too is every kid and family that comes through, we get them down on the mats, teach them how to do CPR, teach them how to use an AED. So the whole family leaves with not only their health information, but also some life-saving skills to take home with them too.
Great. Would you hold that up so that our cameras can see
Absolutely.
Size and what it looks
like?
Yep,
I'm holding up the Avive AED. And again, you can see it's about 2 pounds, very light. It goes right in, into a purse, a backpack, a glove box in your car, super small. And then when you turn it on again, the screen will come on. It'll start showing you how to do CPR. The pads pull out at the back. And everything you need is right here in this device.
When you get your alert, it's not that going off, it's your phone going off.
So for the 4-minute city AEDs, this device will actually alert. It'll
So that
start
could go off while we're sitting here.
Well, it could, yes, actually. It could go off. It could go off right now. So the device will start saying cardiac arrest nearby, take this AED, cardiac arrest, and it'll keep repeating that message until you accept it, or you can, if you're not able to go to the call, you can reject the call. But this will alert you, and then you'll also get the cell phone text as well. It's amazing. It was a couple kids at MIT who decided this was their senior project.
Wow.
Like, how can they change the care of sudden cardiac arrest? And they came up with the technology, and what a game changer. It's so exciting to be part of this.
And you've seen that. That's just been recent, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Years in the making, but now that we're getting it rolled out.
And then you have a big fundraiser in the spring at Ski Round Top.
We do. So that's, Peyton loved adventure. She was definitely my adventure seeker. And she worked at Round Top in so many different capacities over the years.
Near there.
Right. So we live close to Round Top, but she worked there pretty much every season. So she worked at Mountain Adventures. She ziplined. She worked for, obviously, during the ski season, paintball. So we thought, well, what can we do to really kind of tap in to honor her and what she loved so much? So we created the adventure race and utilized the whole mountain. And we kind of implemented different challenges throughout the mountain. We do a 5K and a 2K up there. So for next year, it's going to be May 10th. It's Mother's Day weekend. So, great opportunity to get your family together, come out to the mountain and play. And it's going to be more kind of a CrossFit experience, different challenges, like maybe you're going to be flipping a tire, carrying a cinder block. Just kind of make it so kids can really get involved in it as well. But just a fun day to be out on the mountain. And when we're having that event, I really feel Peyton's spirit there. Like, she is loving what we're doing up there. It's just such a fun event. So that's one of our major fundraisers every year. And then we have our big gala coming up. November 1st. A legacy celebration, truly. We've been doing this work for 10 years, and which to me, as a parent who lost a child, it always feels like yesterday. And I can't even believe we're at that 10-year mark. But what we've done, you were asking, from where we started to where we've come, I never imagined or envisioned we'd be where we are today. And just as we rack up the number of lives that we've saved and the differences that we've made, it's unbelievable. So the big legacy celebration is November 1st. And we're going to bring together people who have used CPR to save lives, people who have been saved by our AEDs that we've donated, people who, are heart screening people, kids that have come through that and had surgery. So it's bringing together all of the incredible success stories, and also talking about where are we going. Like, we have incredible plans for the future. We're really working on taking this nationally, not just in central Pennsylvania. So the legacy celebration is November 1st at the Star Barn in Elizabethtown. And I don't want a boring gala. I'm not a chicken plate, sit down at the table and death by PowerPoint presentation. No, we are all about fun. So, it's coming as an event and meeting planner. I want to make sure it's fun and engaging. We've got bourbon tasting. We've got a cigar experience. There's a silent auction. We have, we've got a Cody Sable. It sounds weird, but he's like a live finger painter performer, does amazing work, incredibly talented. So he's going to be joining us. And it's just a fun evening and celebrating, wow, look at what we've done. But it's all possible because of what the community has made it possible to do. It's just the support that makes it all possible.
So you're looking for gift baskets, like ideas, things that can be auctioned off.
Absolutely. So silent auction.
Still available.
Tickets are still available.
It's gonna be fancy, right?
It is. We say dress up cocktail attire with a touch of gold. So we just want to, it's fun to dress up. So let's get dressed up and celebrate the amazing legacy that we have built, and let's pay honor to Peyton and her message to us. What we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others in the world remains and is immortal. So let's take that message, and that's really the spirit of the night. Let's do for others and really make a difference.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. Just the ideas that you've figured out and then put into practice.
Yeah,
To grow the organization.
I'm excited. Our new initiative, we're really rolling Peyton Walker Foundation into Huddle for Hearts, which is going to be a national initiative, working with athletes from colleges, from universities across the U.S. We're doing local initiatives with Huddle for Hearts and using athletes and their platforms to raise awareness of sudden cardiac arrest. Because I can only do so much. I can only talk to so many people. But if we use the platforms of people who have huge followings, they're going to really amplify the message. So I'm super excited and also a little scared about Huddle for Hearts is about to go huge.
I've not heard of that one.
Yeah. So it's work. Like we have a great partnership with Brew McCoy, the wide receiver for University of Tennessee. Last season, we were sponsoring for every touchdown catch he made, we donated an AED to a youth nonprofit. Sadly, he had a horrendous injury, season-ending injury last year, about a year ago, actually, right now. So, and he's back out on the field this year. We're going down next week to film a segment with SEC Network. They're going to feature Brew and Huddle for Hearts on TV. Like it's going to be huge. Like, and
so you've left Cumberland, Dauphin County. You've gone statewide. Now you're going national.
National. Yeah. It is. It is the vision. That's why I said it's that relentless energy that we know there's so much work to do. And I don't know where we're going or how, but I have a vision, but I don't, I never know. Every day it's something different. New opportunities come up. And I think you just have to embrace the opportunity and roll with it and see, okay, I found 2 dots and now how do I connect them and go?
Amazing.
So I'm blessed to be Peyton's mom.
Yeah.
And every day I'm so grateful because new resources drop into our lap and, into our world that make the work possible. It's unbelievable. I was just talking to somebody last night and I said, every day I say grief and gratitude can coexist. Yep. And I am devastated. Don't ever think for a second, I am not devastated. I am. I will never get over this. I will never move on from this. I will move forward. And every day I will work relentlessly so that another mom never has to sit in a chair like this and tell the same story.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. And you have a fundraiser coming up that I'm also attending at Wolf Brewing.
Yes. Yep. We're doing Tap Takeover. Chiruka Law has sponsored that. So they bring all their attorneys in and they'll be pouring some brews, and any gratuities that come in that night is going to benefit the foundation. They've got raffles set up. And that's what's so beautiful is other businesses have created their own fundraisers for us because they recognize how important this work is. And, it's benefiting the entire community. So again, it's just another one of those, oh my gosh, we are so blessed. I'm so grateful for the love and the support that we just continue to receive.
Yeah. Well, you're incredible.
Thank you.
All of this is on the website
check out PeytonWalker.org, also huddleforhearts.org. All the information's out there. Learn CPR, learn the signs and symptoms that kids could be, showing that could say that there is an undetected heart issue. All that information's on the website. So parents, educate yourselves, learn CPR, get an AED, and all that information's out there. Education is key, and that's so important to help saving lives.
You don't hear about it a lot, right?
Yeah, we don't. So we'll link everything in our show notes. So if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, you'll be able to find the links to your website, and we can talk through what Huddle for Heart, maybe the AED, different things that we can link in there so people can have direct access to be able to find those things.
Perfect.
Easily. And then I want to ask you just 2 wrap-up questions here before we end. I know we're a little over time, but we're just going to keep going. What is the best way that someone can get involved in supporting your organization? And we've talked about the fundraisers. Obviously, you want people to get educated, and that's very available through what you guys do. If someone was like, I really want to take a next step and be more involved, maybe go to a fundraiser, but maybe just learn how I can be more involved in this issue and be more involved. That's all on your website, but what would you say to someone who's getting passion around this or has had someone in their life be impacted by sudden cardiac arrest?
I mean, the opportunities truly are endless. You can, if it's important to you, reach out to us, host a CPR class, invite your friends. We'll come and do a private CPR class with you. If you're a business owner, get an AED for your business. If you're in a neighborhood association, get an AED installed in your neighborhood. Reach out to us. We can help with an outdoor cabinet and the AED. So there's really endless opportunities. And I can come out and do speaking engagements. If you want to get a group together, we can talk about cardiac arrest. We'll do demonstrations. So there's really so many ways to get involved. You can just come help volunteer at one of the community demo events that we do. So you can just, something as simple as that, come volunteer or purchase an AED and donate it to another organization that needs it. The opportunities really are endless.
Awesome. And then I know we didn't get to talk a lot about your experience running a nonprofit, which maybe we can do a whole nother episode on that sometime. But if you could go back, this is kind of our closing question we ask everybody. If you could go back and kind of start over again, establishing a nonprofit and going through the work of really a very entrepreneurial kind of journey, is there anything that you would do differently if you still had all the knowledge and experience, but you got to kind of start over? What are some of the things you've learned along the way that would be helpful tips to someone starting, or things that you would change if you could in the journey?
A great question. So because I have to split my brain, because entrepreneurial, I'm a business owner, for profit, and then to flip it also and try to run a nonprofit, very, very different. Because in a nonprofit, you don't have a product to sell. Right. And so I can't, revenue is dependent on donations and the generosity of others. Very different. And it's frustrating to me because I always have the, pie in the sky ideas. And I'm like, we don't have the money for that. But entrepreneurial wise, one thing, as you get older, you definitely get wiser. And my biggest piece of advice, charge more, period. Charge more and be unapologetic about it. When I was running my business, I got so much work because I know my rates were better than anyone else. And our service far exceeded any other meeting planning business was providing. And I prided ourselves on, I wasn't greedy. I'm not going to overcharge. I regret that now. I definitely could have made more money. And it's not all about the money, but I'd say, I always tell people, raise your rates, be unapologetic, period.
Know your worth. Yeah.
Know your worth. Amen, sister. Yes.
You go to these amazing places, but you're working.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been so blessed. Unbelievable what I've seen in the world. It's unbelievable. So had a good life.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being with us, Julie. We really enjoyed learning more about what your organization does. And we hope that lots of people listen to this episode and learn about the importance of knowing what sudden cardiac arrest is and how everybody can be involved in helping.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
We all think it's not going to happen to us or someone we know or love.
I certainly didn't think I'd ever get that phone call.
Yeah.
I'm telling everybody it can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. So don't fool yourself into thinking.
Important message.
Yeah, it is an important message. So thank you.
You're a good ambassador.
I try.
Yeah.
It's my mission.
Yeah. Clearly passionate about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Yep.
That was Julie Walker sharing her insights on the cardiac arrest prevention and directing a nonprofit. For more information on Julie, the Peyton Walker Foundation, or to learn more about SB and Lattice, click the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Deal.